the idea here is how human beings have absorbed technology and used it to transform how we express ourselves. And the funny thing about what's going on with electronic music, video culture, sampling, you know, you name it, is that people have looked at this and applied their own mythologies to it. So what I want to play you guys an example here is of a human being trying to sound like a beatbox. The rhythm machine. If you think about the early parts of hip-hop, the boombox was always the kind of classic gathering point. And a lot of the early hip-hop situations of people like Africa Bambaataa and Grandmaster Flash will be in outdoor parks. And the funny thing is when Robert Moses, the urban planning and architect, destroyed a large section of the South Bronx because he had to build the Cross-Bronx Expressway, what happened is people were no longer left with their normal social spaces. So they set up out in the park. And they would set up a sound system, and again, think bass frequencies, you know, the heaviest of the sound. And that was used to create what they call sound clashes, sound battles, DJ battles, MC battles. All of that was kind of a way of creating when one MC would have a rhyme style, somebody would have a DJ go with them, and so on and so on. What I'm looking at here is the rhythm of a machine, and thinking about that much later. The social spaces are now the machinery. So the next piece I'm going to play is a guy named Joe Recker who sang the algorithm and the mathematical equation on how to decode a DVD. What ended up happening is that the FBI showed up and confiscated all his computers because encryption is considered a weapon. So from the beatbox to the algorithm.
This function is very takes two arts. Well, the first is SEC, a pointer to a vector of 20, 40 sign bytes that are in the encrypted disk sector and will be decrypted. The second is key, a vector of 6 sign bytes, the decrypted title key.
So, singing a mathematical equation can land you in jail, right? But the funny thing is the voice there that uses is the signifier of this whole series of informational relations. Now, with computer media art, and you're thinking about all of the different layers of how anyone is going to create, essentially what he was doing was outsourcing what the computer is normally doing. So you're looking at a relationship when people have used these devices to filter their own creative input. What happens? It becomes almost like a black box. But if you decode that and pull it back out, how would most human beings even relate to the information being presented? It would be code, it would be weird mathematical symbols. Very few of us even know how to read that stuff anymore, unless you're a very specifically trained technician. But if you sing a song like that, next thing you know, the FBI is on your doorstep. I'm going to play two other sub-examples this is my last chunk of examples. And this is to just kind of give everybody a little bit of the smattering of different stuff I've worked on. Some of my current projects are around dub, and I just did a project with Michael Rose, who was the vocalist for Black Uhuru. Hopefully, some people might know Black Uhuru, a very legendary dub group. And what I'm doing with the next two albums, if you guys got the one that had the parachutes for the globe, that's my next official mix CD that'll be out on Trojan Records. There's going to be a DVD of a lot of early Jamaican performances of like Bob Marley in 1965, a lot of Lee Scratch Perry. So there'll be a CD and DVD. But for this project, it's just dub hip hop, and that's going to be another mix CD about 2 months away.
This function.
Oops, sorry. The idea here was thinking about the convergence between sound plate and dub plate. In early Jamaican culture, the dub plate was what people would do to create a track that was instrumental. In a certain sense, the people would disperse that by having a whole sound system aesthetic that essentially the MC would rhyme over, right? But what happened later is that dub actually took over. People didn't need the voice at all anymore. So if you hear a lot of techno, if you hear a lot of early hip-hop, everybody's trying to understand the idea of the absence of voice. So you can listen to Kraftwerk, for example, and you can listen to Africa Bambaataa, where they would be playing with vocoders and trying to simulate sounding like a computer. All of that was people mythologizing the relationship of the underground to digital media, to digital culture. So the human beatbox I played earlier, the guy singing an algorithm of a mathematical equation of how to decode a DVD, all of those are cyborg narratives. But with dub and reggae, especially in the sound system culture of the late 60s, early 70s, you were hearing kind of a third world response to that. In a certain sense, like if somebody got murdered on the street, they'd go to the studio and make a song about it. It's like, a song gets shot down, you know, something. But the funny thing is, once that migrated to the US, the sound system culture then became about different kinds of, again, culture of the copy. The sound plate and the dub plate were instrumental versions that then got more and more transcribed into African American vernacular. So we're looking at a migration of rhythms. What I want to play is another example, and this is a piece where I remix an opera called Johnny Spielthoff. Actually, Michael came to that. If you want to bring that up later, we can talk about it. Johnny Spielthoff was an opera that was considered to be what they call Andante Musik, degenerate music by Hitler. And the funny thing is, it was done by a composer named Ernst Krenek, who wasn't Jewish, he wasn't black. But what happened, he made the infinitely wrong situation of combining classical music and jazz. And Hitler had some of the actors even dragged from the stage and beaten in the street. And they were spray painting the Star of David. And they put up posters with like a black guy with big lips, like Sambo, you know, playing a saxophone with the Star of David. It's a very famous.
Jewish Negro Bolshevist.
Yeah. In fact, Hitler felt that jazz was a Jewish Negro Bolshevik conspiracy to destroy the German soul. So when I got the rights to do this opera, we presented it at the Haus der Kunst in Munich, which is the house that Hitler built to have the perfect and pure German art.
The former name was Haus der Deutschen Kunst, House of the German Art, and today the name is Haus der Kunst, House of Art.
Yeah, but they had the whole building was built as a shrine to Nazi purity and Aryan purity. So I was the first hip-hop artist to actually do something in this museum. So it was me and Room Koolhaas. I had one room and Room Koolhaas had the other. And I remixed the whole opera with hip-hop, electronic music. But the funny thing is we presented it as a kind of thinking about, it was the first opera to have Germans in blackface. And this infuriated Hitler, the idea of whites playing black music or whites having access to a certain kind of black culture presented what he would consider to be a degeneration of Aryan culture and the purity of art. So they even had a big museum show called Antat Kunst, meaning degenerate art. So the idea of hybridity, of mixture, and of even any sense of having a cohabitation between these different styles. Remember, I started my film off with Style Wars. Having all of these different styles converge in the 21st century spells to the end to that other strain of a certain kind of modernism, of purity, of sticking to certain forms, and certain styles. So what you're going to hear here is an electronic version of the opera singing in kind of high German. I'll just play a quick clip and then I'm going to